All right, watch people, welcome back. Thanks for watching. Hey, I want to follow up on the last video I did, the Scotch video, because I want to just go over a couple points, make a couple things clear. So first of all, I mean, I firmly believe that what a man drinks is his own business, right? It's none of my business. And the intent of that video was not really to talk about, you know, the brand choices you're making, but more to make you aware of like how you're getting ripped off. So I'm going to stick with what it is I said. I mean, 40% Scotch, whiskey, whatever. I mean, just know that it's like the light beer of the spirit world, which, I mean, if you like light beer, that's fine. But it depends on what your intention is. Like, if your intention is to like show you a level of sophistication, or, you know, you're not going to seem real sophisticated drinking like a light beer. Same way if you're drinking like a 40% whiskey. But again, if you like that, you like that. I'm focusing on why it is such a ripoff, especially when you start getting into, you know, the $80, $90, $100 marks for 40%. All right, the second thing I want to talk about is in that video why I said usually. And the reason why I said usually is because, for example, my man Prophet commented on the last video, right? In his video, one of his last ones, he was on the Glenfiddich, the 14. So let's look at that, right? So the Glenfiddich 14 is 43%. Glenfiddich 14, 43%. And the Glenfiddich 15 is 40%. So the funny thing is, the 15 is $20 more, but it's weaker than the 14. Now, I mean, I know they're entirely different things. The 14 is bourbon cask, and I know that the 15 is Solera, entirely different thing. But I wonder, Prophet probably likes the 15 better because it's probably softer. And yeah, that's the reason. It's like 3% weaker. It's 80 proof instead of 86 proof. So, you know, you got to know the labels. You got to know what's in the range. You can't just go by what somebody tells you. So the third thing I want to talk about is actually one of the viewers, Martin, left a comment on the video, and he was recommending a really particular type of Scotch, like the Talisker. So that's a really interesting brand. The thing I like about Talisker is I think across their whole lineup, I believe everything in their range is 45%, a little bit more than that, a little bit over 90 proof. So immediately it tells me that they're not trying to get every last dollar out of their production every year. You know, they're not watering it down as much as they possibly could. So, I mean, you got to respect that. Talisker is also interesting because, like, I've never met Martin, but a person who drinks Talisker probably likes Islas. I'm going to assume. I'm going to make some assumptions, and, you know, you guys can Google that. This is also a person who probably knows a lot about scotches, more than me. I just know enough to be dangerous. But a person who drinks Talisker is a very interesting person, particularly the Skye that he mentioned, because usually people who like that type of stuff, you know, they hear about Lefroy and they stop there. But, I mean, this person went deep. You can learn a lot about people by, like, what they're interested in. A person who drinks Talisker, specifically Talisker Skye, has probably gone through a lot of scotches. And they probably know a lot about scotches. And they settled on this range. And they didn't just go into it by price. They were really looking for something. Also, I think this is probably like a information person. This person is into information. Like, it's probably hard to sell to this type of person. They're not going to just go by what it is you say, which makes sense, because if you found this channel, you're not just going by like the top search results on YouTube bar, because I'm never going to come up in there. But it's just interesting. So shout out to Martin for the Talisker. I mean, I'm not a fan of those Islas, of the taste profile. You know what I mean? It's just not really for me. But hey, to each his own. But hey, it's 90 proof, and you said that you got to have it neat. So again, I mean, I'll give you props for that. So finally, one last thing that came up is he was talking about fake ice. And it reminded me of like something that I really hate, which is like whiskey stones. Man, whiskey stones are probably the stupidest thing, one of the stupid things that they've come up with. My wife got me these whiskey stones, and I tried them out, and I don't use them anymore because, you know what? The whole point of whiskey stones, I guess, is to keep your whiskey cool. But I realized, you know, there's something that we already got to keep your whiskey cool. It's called ice. You know, like, I don't know why they tried to reinvent the wheel on that. Like, ice has been proven to work. Now, if you're concerned about diluting the whiskey down too much, what you need to do is get an ice ball, not whiskey stones. Just get an ice ball. You can get a mold, Amazon, maybe $10. You can make a giant ice ball so that it won't melt water into it. It'll do the purpose of keeping the whiskey cool without unnecessarily diluting it. Especially if you're paying like, you know, if you're like Profit, if you're spending like, you know, $70-$80 for a Glenfiddich 15, which is already 60% water, you really don't want to be adding any extra water to that. You just don't want to. Another thing about whiskey stones is that these are rocks. Like, throwing rocks into glass is just a dumb idea to begin with. It's like, I don't know who came up with this, but as I've learned, you got to worry about putting them in there right. Do I drop them in there too hard? Is it going to crack? And then, you know, a lot of times if you're like drinking your whiskey, the stone might like roll forward and like hit you in the tooth or something. It's just kind of like, I'm just over it. I mean, if you guys like whiskey stones, that's fine. But to me, it's just kind of like, I'll just stick with ice. I don't really use ice anyway, unless it's something barrel proof. And even then, it's going to be a whiskey ball. But, you know, let me know what you think about whiskey stones. That is probably enough about whiskey for today. I want to thank you guys for watching, and I'll be back next time. Still winning during the COVID. Still winning.